Me. You can hear me now. Hello. How are we doing this fine Thursday afternoon? I am here with Chuaning. I actually can't find Mo Run at the moment. I think he's in the dishwasher. I'm not entirely sure. So it's me and Chuaning again, and we're talking about Volume 8 of Erha. I've got a couple of notes that I'm gonna yap about real quick before we descend into chat chaos. Well, okay, before I descend into chat chaos. The chat's already chaotic because that's where they idle, you know? They're not even in gear. They just idle there. And we love them for it. So, couple of notes as I think around. And you know what's funny about this? I am indeed late again. I am having to learn how to make effective lists because when you're ADHD, everybody tells you, even ADHD people, they're like, oh man, making lists absolutely saves my life. And I only got medicated like 2 weeks ago. And all up until then, I'm like, if I could get my shit together to make a list, I wouldn't have like 75% of the life problems that I have. So I've never been able to actually like keep lists. But now that I'm medicated, even though we're working with dosages and everything, I can. So now I'm having to actually learn how to make lists. And all of this to say is that I did my stream prep for today and then did not notice until 5 minutes I was supposed to go live that I hadn't set up Spirit City for you guys yet, which takes a second to change stuff around, choose a new companion, a little spirit companion and all of that, in addition to having to fix myself before I get on camera. So we're learning to make lists, and actually we're making progress, but you need to put everything on the list or you don't do it. So that's your little weekly insight into someone with ADHD. So now, speaking of lists, the actual list of things that I wanted to talk about from previously on Erha, okay? First of all, and I will check these off as I go, there's like 4 items on this list. It's not a big deal. Everyone wants Chuaning's wood, and I think that that's at least 60% of the reason why Meat Bun made him a tree. I was right about the direction that Shimay's purity went. He himself is pure. Black and white thinking he is the ultimate arbiter of what is pure and what is filthy. And so he is pure so he can do whatever the fuck he wants. You know, that kind of thing. I was right about that. Yay, go me. It wasn't the most difficult thing to discern, but I still get points. And then the hedgehog thing. If you recall, we got, actually, I want to read this real quick because it's just a short paragraph. This like hedgehog metaphor that Meat Bun came up with for Chuaning. I know it's here. I know it's here. There it is. That says, Chuaning was like a hedgehog. His whole body was covered in sharp quills, save for his soft underside. But he took in his disciples, took in all the people who showed him kindness, and tucked them under his velvety belly. He doubted whether he should trust Shimei. He'd had his reservations and tested the waters, but he'd still chosen to put his faith in him in the end. The knife plunged into the hedgehog's soft stomach from beneath, blood streaming over the ground. Like, even down to he doubted whether he should trust Shimei. He had his reservations and tested the waters. Sharp quills. But he'd still chosen to put his faith in him in the end. Velvety belly. Like, that paragraph, despite, you know, hedgehog feeling like a little bit of out of pocket, albeit, you know, accurate imagery to bring up, is still fits because of everything she does there, how relevant it is to the moment, and then also adding a literal twist of the knife with the knife plunged into the hedgehog's soft stomach from beneath, blood streaming over the ground. Terribly effective. I'm going to use this opportunity to drag Kin Porsche for a second, because a great example of this not exactly being done well is in Kin Porsche, because there's a character in that show who, just in case you haven't seen it, I won't say who has a hedgehog. and he cares for the hedgehog, and like the hedgehog like dies, and it's supposed to be this big thing about how everything he has dies. He can't nurture anything. It's just reinforcing his belief that he's a piece of shit, right? And like kind of on paper that sort of works, but like the problem is that the style of the show is so like action thriller intense, plot twisty, and there's like some dark shit that happens, especially with this character in question, that like all of a sudden we pan over every now and then in a scene with him and there's like a hedgehog there, and now like we're crying over a hedgehog. And like if you wanted him to care for an animal that then died on him, you could have chosen an animal that's maybe like less inadvertently funny than that. But it's like they were like, okay, we need him to take care of something, and then we need that thing to die so that it can send him on a spiral. Okay, so I know hedgehog is a good visual metaphor for this character. Let's just make it a hedgehog, even though the audience, i.e. me, is now kind of giggling whenever we pan over to a hedgehog in like the BDSM room, you know? Like it just did not fit. It, at least for me, it was inadvertently funny and also kind of painted what should be a huge moment for a character with some giggling because this is happening about a hedgehog. It's like they chose the metaphor over the suitability of the moment, whereas Meat Bun was like, listen, all of a sudden conjuring up the image of a hedgehog might feel a little weird for a second, but give me a paragraph and I can beautifully communicate to you several things about the character and how it relates to the spiky top, like soft underbelly thing. And then at the end, beautifully communicate how that type of person, that is Chuaning, has now been gutted by this realization. And it's not something that she's going to bring up a million times, and we're always going to refer to him as a hedgehog in the most, you know, craziest of moments. Just slid it right in there. Just slid it right in there at the right moment, and it was beautifully effective. So I just wanted to applaud her for that, because after Ken Porsche, I was like, you're never going to be able, you cannot use a hedgehog in that way, in a moment like that, and have it work. And she proved me wrong. She did it. So like, applause. We're applauding the hedgehog paragraph in this stream today. So the last thing was just a curious bit of, I guess you could call it theorizing, really. At the very end of the last chapter that we read, Tae Jun actually admitted to a feeling. He admitted to missing Chuaning and like was genuine about, just for a moment. And he, you know, tried to backpedal, and it was just a glimmer of a moment. So like, not to the same extent as Mo Run, given, you know, the flower of it all. But like, are we kind of going to maybe not heal, not redeem, not fully, but are we going to add some three-dimensional nuance to this guy who had something absolutely heinous done to him that is then fueling all of his worst impulses to the bajillionth degree? Are we going to get more of that? I don't know. I have no idea. I'm not a rereader. I'm sure the rereaders are like cackling right now because they know, and they always cackle, but that's just something that kind of crossed my mind. So those were the notes that I had written down anyway. What are we thinking about what we read last time, with everyone being all the fuck over Chuaning, but for like extremely valid reasons? You know? How are we feeling? Ooh, Liv. Liv says the way that Chuaning has all the purity of Mo Run's mom on the inside, but is unlike her on the outside. And Shimei is like her on the outside and nothing like her on the inside. Ooh. Ooh. That's a very good observation, Liv. Thank you. Mm-hmm. And existing, those sides to them and those aspects of them existing in the same person. Because, you know, people are nuanced. It's not black and white, which is something else that we're greatly talking about in this. No, that's good. We very specifically left off the last bit of the chapter. It was literally Tish and Jun's moment of, hey, I missed you, and Chuaning realizing that Tish and Jun meant it, that he wasn't bullshitting, that Tish and Jun actually missed him. That was legit the last bit of the last page of the chapter. Blue says Chuaning is also boss as fuck. Yes. The savagery, to visit the name of this stream, the way that he absolutely fucking eviscerated Shimei. Can we just, like, those are always one of my favorite moments. Whenever you have the perfect opportunity to really just lay into a character like that, and we get to see one of the heroes get to just murder someone verbally. I always love that shit. So this was deeply satisfying because he did it like, what, 3 different times in 3 different ways or some shit? Because first of all, he clocked him like right away, and then just reduced him to like nothing. Like, you could be all of these things, but you're not. You're not even worthy of the comparison. Like, you're not even worthy of the comparison, dude. You are like so not half the water bitch you think you are. Mm-hmm. It was beautiful. Just stunning. One of Chuaning's top moments for sure. And he's had a lot of top moments so far. Ironically. Oh, you know, Selfie just said Huabinan would not be able to get that no matter how much Huabinan is controlling Taishanjun, which I'm assuming is alluding to the whole, you know, Taishanjun walks in and says, get the fuck out, and Huabinan just kind of has to. I don't think I had really fully realized that, yeah, this would be, so far, as for what we've seen, like, the only time that Taishanjun has actually been able to tell Huabinan, who's controlling him, to just kind of go fuck himself and not do it. So he's been able to control Taishanjun in all these other ways, but when it comes to Chuaning, you can't. I don't think I'd really internalized that. Thank you. That'll be interesting to keep in mind going forward. Oh yeah, Liv. Taishanjun hating him too was bliss. Yes, it was. That was oddly satisfying, having Taishanjun just obviously, just so clearly and fully resenting the hell out of Huabinan, and just having an absolute no. Just no. Just no. Just fuck off. Amazing. Henry said Meihan Shui has more water bitch power in a third of his unit than Shimei has in all of him. And and I just have to shout out deeply correct statements. Thank you. I'm deeply excited about Meihan Shui. Can I just say I'm I'm really hoping for that in Shuimeng. I don't think I'm gonna get it. Really? But it kind of seems like that's where it's going. But maybe I'm just not used to supporting characters getting their own queer romance in Danmei, because I have not completed too many Danmei. It's just most of the ones that I've read have been terribly long. And maybe that's just an incorrect impression, and Danmei is actually full of, supporting characters getting absolutely fucking railed. But I'm not used to it, so I'm used to a character like Shuimeng just being Shuimeng and not really, no matter how much you might want him to be. So Henry out here again with the correct statements. Henry says Shuimeng inherited 3 things from Mama Waneng, and it's the moral code, the sass, and the being a size queen. That's the headcanon. I don't know about you. Whoa, wait. Henry. He's 3rd biggest, I remember. He is in Shuimeng? Or Meihan Shui? Someone's 3rd biggest. Shuimeng is 3rd. Jesus. That fucking pamphlet? Meihan Shui? Meihan Shui. That's only more devastating to me because, I mean, it's relevant information about Shuimeng, but Shuimeng gives bottom energy, so Meihan Shui being 3rd? Okay, now I'm pretty confident that that's going to happen. I don't think she told us that for nothing, I just don't think so. Oh my god. Henry said he voluntarily let them measure him. That was Meihan Shui? Stop. I love this bitch. Is he the valid water bitch? Wait. He's the valid water bitch. There's water bitch and there's valid water bitch. I don't make the rules. That's just how it is. Let them measure him. Of course he fucking did. He's been directly on the page for a grand total of what? 10 pages maybe? And I know this about him. Of course he fucking would. Oh man. Liv, yes. Shuimeng is the bratty bottom. You are correct. He very much gives bottom energy. 100%. No. I can't believe that was Meihan Shui. And I'm terrible with names, so of course I forgot. When did we get, you know, the pamphlet? When did we get the rankings, I should say? What volume was that? I feel like that was very early. Like volume 2, 3, 4. 4? I love how, first of all, I just want to, for anyone who's just listening to this, multiple people instantly answered with like the precise moment that we got the size ranking. Just want to call out chat for a second. That was multiple people immediately volunteering that information. And I say that with as much affection as I could possibly muster. It does. Argon said it feels so long ago, doesn't it? Yeah, that's why I wanted to put it in volume 2 or 3. It was volume 4. Even that doesn't feel quite long ago enough. But if it's volume 4, that had to have been months and months ago. So no wonder I didn't remember. But I love, so she planted it in volume 4. And it hasn't become fully relevant yet. But I'm expecting that there's going to be a payoff now that, you know, we know him. And this whole thing with Shuimeng. So I'll just be curious to see exactly how long before that Chekhov's gun goes off, so to speak. Hey, yeah, Liv asks, who was number 2, by the way? Who was number 2? Was it anyone or was it just some random person? It was probably an intentional person because it's Meat Bun, but she may have been like main character, someone you're not really supposed to care about. Tertiary character who's gonna come up in 3, 4 volumes. Blue actually pulling an excerpt because they looked it up just now. And literally the text was a wandering cultivator that Chu Wanning had never heard of, seen when bathing in the forest, quote unquote, mighty. Which, but a wandering cultivator that Chu Wanning had never heard of, seen when bathing in the forest. I just wonder, given her preoccupation with the ranking and the absolute unit of it all, I wonder if just for shits and giggles, because it's funny and because it's Meat Bun's type of funny, if we're going to get some kind of throwaway confirmation as to who the wandering cultivator with a mighty number 2 ranking is, just to make us laugh. Yeah, Selfie says, have we met any wandering cultivators yet? I don't think so. I don't think we have. No one comes to mind. Which I understand, like, that's me, so that doesn't really say anything here or there. But I don't even remember, like, an impression of that. Not that I'd be able to pull their name. Love says, Chu Wanning told Hua Binan that he doesn't even compare to Xu Shuanglin. Oh, yeah, he doesn't even compare to Xu Shuanglin. So how could you possibly expect to compare to Mo Run? Man, I haven't seen someone reduced to dust the way that Chu Wanning did to Hua Binan since literally there is a White House Correspondents' Dinner from eons ago where Obama singles out Donald. And I mean, in the most effortless, classy, like you have to pick up the subtext way, just shattered him to nothing. And it's beautiful. I rewatch it like once a year or some shit because it's so satisfying. And I have not experienced anything like that literally until Chu Wan-ning just obliterated Hua Binan in the thorough way that he obliterated Hua Binan. Just knocked him right off of his fucking high horse, Chu Wan-ning did. In like every way. Now, Shimei's gonna make this everyone's problem because he already has. That's kind of what the entire series is about. But right now, without having seen the consequences, this is fantastic. I'm having the best time. Henry! Henry! Oba Manning! Oh, amazing. Amazing. Just amazing. Oh, I'm putting that one in the halls of record. Thank you. Oh. No. But yes, that one goes down in history. It's just too good. Woo. Now, they've established, before we go, because we're actually coming up on 2:55, before we go, they've established that Tae Jun is very firmly standing in between Shimei and Chu Wan-ning in every single way, potentially. But that doesn't mean that Shimei won't figure out a way to get Chu Wan-ning alone. So I'm bouncing between Meat Bun having had this moment of Shimei making his intentions very clear and then being summarily thwarted, as this was the threat that you could have kind of been anticipating and now it's been avoided, so we've played that out, or if she's going to bring it back around, because this was just the beginning. This was like the statement of intent. This was you may have been low-key worried that Hua Binan would want to do this, and so now I'm going to confirm that concern, but then defer later for the worst possible moment, maybe, as to when he would either be able to go all the way through with it or cross several more boundaries before maybe being stopped. However, it would have to happen before Chu Wan-ning gets his groove back, because he's currently like low on his spiritual energy at the moment. And I think I'll feel better when Chu Wan-ning's spiritual energy is back and he has a way to defend himself. That's when I'll maybe breathe a sigh of relief. But until then, I'm anxious about it, frankly. Oh, Liv says, I think it might be the thing that pushes Tae and Jun to the other side. If only for that reason, like, yeah, that's very much the only way that you are going to turn Tae and Jun on Hua Binan is the Chu Wan-ning of it all. That's pretty much the only way. And I feel like that could also be like directly purposefully used in order to do that. But then also, I can't quite remember the finer points of the control that Huabinan has over him. So that may not be entirely possible. Or, to get really mean about it, Huabinan figures out a way to actually get what he wants, so to speak. And Tisha and June finding out about it is what, at least in function, gets him onto our side. There's too many possibilities, and very few of them don't involve the worst. Well, it's almost 3. I have to go start up the other stream and then come back after the tiniest of breaks while I get that stream started to find out, because the chapter is called Confession, so the downloads aren't done yet. We're still going to be getting more information about whatever the fuck. So we're going to read about a confession in a couple minutes. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. As always, I'll see you over in the other stream here in just a little bit. And I'll see you next Tuesday for talking about whatever the fuck we're about to read. Alrighty? I will see you guys in just a second.